I didn't hop on until right before I got my pro card. Just listen to the video. Have you seen this freaking kid's physique? Okay, and so Anton now, like... Coach Greg, in today's video, Anton Ratushny is a liar. And it's not just me saying it, it's everyone in the comments. And as soon as you see what he's saying, you're going to agree. And so normally you perhaps think that Coach Greg is just looking for drama. But sometimes guys like this, they deserve it.
This is why I decided to hop on.
Hey, at least he admits he's not natural. I mean, he's an IFBB pro. He's going for the Olympia, has one of the most amazing physiques in the world. And according to some people, he's the youngest IFBB pro of all time. I'm not sure if he was younger than Lee Priest, but bro won his pro card at only 18. Barely legal, but an IFBB pro.
When I was starting out as a natural athlete, I pushed myself so hard that I hit a wall.
And so when he was natural, probably 15 years of age, he trained so hard that he hit a wall. He couldn't make any gains. He had reached his natural genetic limit at 15 from training too hard. Does anyone believe that? Now, even if we did believe that, why didn't he just train less hard? And so when you first start out in the gym, don't train so hard. Just showing up, going through the motions, you are going to make gains. It's even too early to bother taking Turk Builder Max. You don't need this. You haven't hit a plateau. You're way too young. You don't need it. Now, if you are older, you have hit a plateau, you've been training for years, click the link, code Greg, for your discount.
My recovery could not keep up with the demands of my training.
Okay, and so what that means is that you're overtraining, or you're training too frequently. And so perhaps you could have trained less sets, less volume, less frequency, but sometimes less is more. And so Anton, why didn't you perhaps take a day off? But you know, he's a young guy. He didn't watch Coach Greg. He didn't have a coach. And so, hey, he's doing the best with the knowledge he had at that time.
I felt low energy, deep depression, and I didn't know what was happening to me. I got my blood work done through Merrick Diagnostics.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I, of course, promote Algo RX, where you can go and get your blood work. Depending on what it is, the doctors can prescribe you medications. Perhaps you need enclomiphene, peptides. Who knows? Some people are losing their hair. They want dutasteride, finasteride. Some people have high blood pressure. Do they need telmisartan? Some people, they can't get harder than last time. Perhaps they need some Cialis. Do what makes you happy.
And reached the conclusion myself. I found out my testosterone was in the gutters.
That could have been from perhaps overtraining, poor sleep, stress, not eating enough calories, perhaps dieting from bodybuilding competitions. I mean, we've seen countless athletes, for example, TNF, with crushed testosterone levels from training too hard and dieting for bodybuilding competitions. And so what should you then do? Well, you end the competition, you start eating in a calorie surplus yet again, and you get your body fat to a healthy body fat percentage, probably between 10 and 15%. That is what you should do. In particular, when you're a teenager, does anyone think that a 17-year-old, 18-year-old should be prescribed HRT because they're dieting for bodybuilding competitions? I mean, to each his own, do what makes you happy. But if I was his dad and I had a son who was bodybuilding at 17 or 18 years of age, I'd be saying, well, if your testosterone levels are this low, let's see what happens once you go on a proper diet and you eat more calories and you stop competing.
Try getting it back up. With rest and a lot of work, I was able to stabilize my levels.
Bravo, that's exactly what you should have been doing.
Every time I would go back to training, my levels would keep plummeting back.
I'm not sure how many times he got his blood work taken, perhaps 5, 6, 10 times. Every time he went back to training, testosterone levels crashed. So then what would he do? Well, he would take more rest, perhaps eat a little bit more, and it would go back to normal. And so this cycle, it seemed to keep on happening. And so eventually decided, you know, at 40 years of age, at 18, that he's had enough.
When I began competing, I thought going enhanced would solve my problems. But I wasn't prepared for the side effects that it comes with.
So I don't know if this was happening before he had dieted for competitions. We don't know if his testosterone levels were plummeted from something else. Is it possible he was taking Ostarine, Rad 140, LGD, or any SARMs whatsoever? Is it possible that he dabbled in, sprinkled in a little bit of Anavar? Have you seen his physique when he was 17, 18 years of age? Does anyone think that he was natural? And so when did he first begin? Should a normal athletic male, let's call it 15, 16 years of age, have plummeted testosterone levels and be going through depression and no energy and so on just from going to the gym and working out? And remember, this is not anyone that we're talking about. We're talking about Anton, one of the genetically most gifted athletes we've ever seen. How is it possible that he has such amazing genetics, but then when he went to the gym and worked out, following whatever program, perhaps he could follow the Sculpt Act between Coach Greg and Eric Janicki? Was he on Renaissance Periodization? Was he on some different app? Who was his coach? But yet, whatever he seemed to do in the gym, it was too much. It seems like him coping and trying to create an excuse for him to abuse steroids.
That's when I turned to Merrick Optimization Program.
And so, unfortunately, he solved one problem and created several others. When you have low levels of testosterone and use, for example, enclomiphene or lower levels of HRT, let's call it 100 milligrams a week, that solves the problem. Your testosterone, it's not low anymore. It's now normal. It's called HRT for a reason. Hormone replacement therapy. You're replacing the testosterone that you once had. But when you're Anton competing as a bodybuilder and you're trying to put on more muscle than anyone else in a very short period of time, for example, like 30 plus pounds of muscle in a year, you're using abusive doses, and that creates other problems. High blood pressure, lower HDL, higher HDL, your lipids out of whack, your kidneys, all kinds of problems. And so you then need to practice polypharmacy. He then works with a health coach from Merrick Health who can then tell him, advise him of all the concoction of drugs and polypharmacy he can do to offset the damages from using and abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Let's make it clear. He isn't just replacing his testosterone levels, he's abusing a shit ton of gear.
I got set up with a health coach. That's when I started to optimize everything rather than just blindly move forward.
Let's be honest. Is he optimizing his health? I understand that there's certain things you can push a little bit more. For example, HRT. I'm on 140 milligrams, but perhaps to optimize my physique, maybe I could do 200 milligrams. But it's not going to involve tren. It's not going to involve growth hormone, insulin. It doesn't involve a host of different drugs that IFBB professional bodybuilders use in order to make the Olympia.
I became as healthy as ever.
Does anyone think that Anton is healthier now at, I think he's 21, than he was at 14 or 15? Do you really think his blood work is healthy? Does anyone believe that? Do you believe that you can blast as an IFBB pro and while on cycle, while dieting, that your blood work can be immaculate?
And now I'm making progress on the lowest dosages I've used in my entire career.
I'm going to have to take his word for that. And so what that means is that the steroids that he's on right now as an IFBB pro, training to go to the Olympia and so on, that he's taking less steroids now than ever. Let's read between the lines. That means that his first cycle had more steroids in it than he does use right now as an IFBB pro. What does that tell you? Does anyone think his first cycle was 300 milligrams of test? That it was just HRT? That it was just 500 milligrams of test? Or do you think it was a concoction of a ton of different compounds at ridiculous doses? Use your brain. Youngest IFBB pro. Do you think you become the youngest IFBB pro of all time by using HRT? By sprinkling in a little bit of Anavar? Or do you think he was blasting everything from day one, and now that he's older, and remember, he's in the classic physique, how big can he actually get? There's a weight cap. He's reduced his doses to lower than his first cycle. And so had he have hired Coach Greg, or frankly, almost anyone, do you think he would have been using the highest doses imaginable at 18? Did he even compete once while being natural? My advice is do your first show natural. At least learn what it's like. Get the feeling of what it's like to experience training without performance-enhancing drugs so you can get a feel of if you actually like it. You're going to blast everything, including the kitchen sink, for your very first show, and you don't even know if you're going to like it. Now, for Anton, he's lucky. He had the crazy genetics. We've seen his physique at his first competition. It makes no sense. It was amazing. But wasn't it too amazing? Think of it. You're coaching Anton, and you see how amazing he is. Couldn't you say, bro, You know, I know you're taking 500 tests, 500 DECA, whatever. Let's do half. I mean, look at your physique.
Merrick's Guided Optimization Program is a fully personalized, medically supervised plan. For 5 days only, from June 22nd to June 26th, you can get $100 off with my code Anton.
And so great, you can get $100 off. You know, the average person, let's say they spend around 5 figures, $10,000 a year, you get to save $100 off of that. And so what a great deal. Have any of you looked into the cost of doing these things? Like getting a healthcare professional to medically supervise you blasting steroids, you know, of all kinds. Not just talking steroids, perhaps it's SARMs, perhaps it's growth hormone, perhaps it's peptides. How much do you think is spending each and every year on all of these performance-enhancing drugs? The price is through the roof.
Act fast. This offer ends June 26th at 11:59 p.m. And stay healthy, guys. Peace.
And so would it not make more sense for him to say, you know, stay healthy, guys, don't copy and do what I'm doing? Being an IFBB pro, we all know that that isn't healthy. I'm living proof of this. I wasn't healthy. I wasn't good. And so if you chase your dreams the way I have, it's an uphill battle. You never gave natural body a chance. This is hilarious / shitty ad. Anton's response, LOL, I did. I didn't hop on until right before I got my pro card. Just listen to the video. Okay, and so Anton now, Anton is saying that he was natural until right before he got his pro card. That earlier in his competitive career, all natty. He didn't use any steroids whatsoever. Have you seen this freaking kid's physique? The audacity of him to claim natty until he got his pro card. I mean, what is bro, more genetically gifted than Ronnie Coleman? Like, really? He built all of that muscle with plummeted testosterone levels. So we're going to believe that Anton's first show was 100% natural. Because, you know, when he went to train, he overtrained and he was depressed with crushed testosterone levels and no energy. But yet that was his physique. Does anyone think it's possible to build that much muscle with your testosterone levels in the toilet? He's either lying then or he's lying now, but one thing we know for sure is that he is a liar. He's saying he was natural all the time until he got his pro card, right before. And so right before he got his pro card, he was on the highest dose of his life. He went from being natural to taking everything, including the kitchen sink. It makes no sense. Not a chance anyone is believing that, bro. Going on test at 19 is not TRT, bro. You're ruining the minds of these young, impressionable young men on here. Typical shitfluencer pushing your clinic saying low levels as a teen is justification to blast. He then responds, you don't want to believe because it will ruin your self-inflated ego knowing that a 19-year-old can go pro doing something for a cycle and become more successful than you running gear your whole life and destroying your health. I mean, Anton, you literally just said that when you went on gear, it messed up your health and that you had to do something about it. That's why you went to Merrick. That's why you got a coach to tell you what to do to heal you up. You also said you're on way lower doses now than you ever were. And so you admit to blasting when you started because you're doing lower doses than that right now. But you're also trying to tell us that you didn't use steroids until just before you turned pro. That all those years prior, you were natural. And so by not using steroids, what is that code for I was using only growth hormone, peptides, IGF-1, and SARMs? Oh, I wasn't using steroids. What exactly were you using? Look at your physique. People can't even believe that Hussein Farhat was natural despite passing 4 blood work tests. And bro has amazing genetics. Your physique at 18 would blow Hussein's out of the water, but yet you say you were natural. And you say you had very low levels of testosterone. Those two things are not synonymous. How can you have plummeted testosterone levels and the best 18-year-old physique in the world all at the same time? It makes no sense. AK, you are a liar. There's no such thing as staying healthy while taking steroids. Well, partially true. If by taking steroids he's talking about HRT, as in lower levels of testosterone, absolutely. If he's talking about blasting gear like that of an IFBB Pro, then that is not possible. It would be like saying you can be morbidly obese, 400 pounds, and healthy at the same time. If you're 400 pounds, I don't care if you're running 2 hours a day, if you're eating everything perfectly well. If you're 400 pounds, you're not healthy, full stop. Two things cannot be true at the same time. You cannot be that fat and healthy at the same time. And so if you think it stops there, it gets worse. This isn't a singular video from Anton. He does it yet again. And so the video here is titled, "Don't Rush Steroids." Okay, this is great advice coming from somebody who was blasting at 18. Don't rush steroids. I mean, perhaps he's going to say, you know, I started taking steroids at 18. I'm fertile. I ruined my hair, my HDL, it tanked, my kidneys. Oh my goodness. I'm not very healthy. Let's watch.
A lot of people, especially like me being the youngest IBU pro, like it could be like my whole journey could be quite encouraging to people to get on steroids.
At least he's honest. Nothing he said here is wrong. Just like he's looking at Sam Sulek and Chris Bumstead and thinking, you know what? I'm 18. I want to do the same thing. Chris and Sam starting steroids at 18. That encourages him to use steroids at 18. And then we have guys like Eric English starting at 15, 16 years of age, thinking, you know, I want to be the next Anton. Anton wanted to be the next C-Bum, and perhaps Eric English wants to be the next Anton. It keeps getting younger. It is a trickle-down effect of younger and younger influencers thinking they need to hop on.
And I see a lot of kids who are 18 like thinking, oh, I'm going to beat his records. And I see that. And there's a lot of kids like that. And they think that gear is the answer. It definitely is not.
Is he going to say it's Turk Builder Max? Is he going to say it's Geo2 Max? Is it possible that it's my cookbook? Is it peptides and getting your blood work from Algo RX? What could it be?
Take it from somebody who's done it. It's not going to speed up the process.
If you don't think that Anton is lying when you heard this statement right here, then I don't know if I can convince you. Using steroids, it doesn't actually build more muscle. When I was a teenager, that's what I was told. People said, oh, steroids is just a shortcut. If you train properly, you train hard, and you eat the right kind of foods, you build just as much muscle as you do from taking steroids. Steroids is just a shortcut. It's for cheaters. It doesn't speed up the process. We know that it does. We have thousands of articles, proof, studies, proving that steroids, they actually work.
It's only going to set you back.
And so it's going to actually slow your process. And so had Anton not taking steroids, he would have been even younger. Perhaps he would have been a pro at 17. I'm not buying it, Anton. Is anyone buying this?
Obviously, if you're chasing just that title, being the youngest IB pro, you might get it, but where are you going to go from there? And that's why we've seen people who are burnt out at a young age. And
where are you going to go from there? Okay, well, let me throw this out. From there, you compete in a competition and you get third. Your next competition, you get second and you qualify for the Olympia. And at the Olympia, you get second. And following that, the next year, you win. You then go on to win 6 Olympia titles and you become worth tens of millions, if not $100 million. His name is Chris Bumstead. And so that's where he went from there. And what about Sam Sulek? Well, he started abusing steroids at a young age and he competed. He turned pro on his second competition. He then competed in the Arnolds. He then started his own peptide company, which is not like Algorex. It doesn't just sell all FDA-approved peptides and so on. For example, Retta. Algorex doesn't sell Retta because it's not allowed to be prescribed by doctors. It's not FDA approved, at least it's not yet. And so if you're using Retta, it's not FDA approved. And so if you're going to a peptide company and they're selling this, you know it's a scheme. It's for research purposes only. Last I checked, you're not just doing research. This is being injected to yourself and you are a human. And so if it says not for human consumption, and you're a human and you're consuming it, you technically are breaking the law. Now, I'm just pointing out the obvious.
I went through a lot of mental contemplation and everything, like almost came off of everything I did. I was just going through it and I realized, okay.
He got his pro card because he had abused in so many steroids, he thought, I don't know what to do. He was already burnt out. Does this sound like somebody that had his shit together? When I turned IFBB pro, was I burnt out? I had done 50 competitions when I turned pro and I was 35 years of age and I proceeded to compete after that. I last competed 6 years ago. I was 44. Does that sound like the route of somebody who burned out? And so perhaps a younger Anton can listen to someone like Coach Greg. Now, did I have the best genetics in the world? Clearly not. I didn't win a title. But who do you think did it better? If you're contemplating quitting as soon as you turn pro, you're thinking it isn't really worth it. Maybe I should just hang it all up. Then was it really worth it after all? Perhaps the only reason you like bodybuilding in the first place is because you like using steroids. You like taking that drug. Bodybuilding is a lot more fun when you're adding on slabs of muscle each and every week. When you're natural, that doesn't happen. And so my suggestion, don't use steroids in the first place, because once you use steroids, it's very hard to go natural. It's very hard to lower the doses because it's even harder to put on more muscle.
That's what happened to me. And I realized, okay, like if I want to make it a career, 10 plus years, I want to take the least for as long as I can.
He then realized, I've been blasting doses way too high. If I want to make a career of this, 10 plus years, remember he's 21. So if he wants to train as long as Chris Bumstead, make it to 30. If I want to be able to compete till I'm 30 and then retire, I need to lower my doses, because why do you think? Read between the lines, his health. Do you think he was healthy? He did his competition and he felt like, oh my goodness, I need to retire, I need to come off. It's because his blood work was horrendous. Notice these guys aren't showing their blood work. In comparison, I show you my blood work because I am open, honest, and transparent. These guys say, I didn't use steroids until a few weeks out from my pro card. These guys say steroids don't make you build muscle faster. It's not going to help you to get there. No, don't do steroids. From the guy who's abusing steroids. And so eventually learned, I have to lower those doses. And we've already heard him say he just started blasting steroids a couple weeks before turning pro. Bro put on like 30 pounds of tissue in one off season. Bruh, come on. Less than 30 pounds, first full off season in a couple years, less gear than before, more food than before. He's doubling down. He's saying, look, I didn't quite put on 30 pounds. Maybe it was only 20 pounds of muscle in a year. After already using his newbie gains and after already abusing steroids. And he says he's doing lower doses right now to still put on perhaps 20 pounds of muscle. It's a little bit less than 30, but he says it's lower doses than when he first started. Either he's abusing steroids now or he's abusing steroids when he first began, but he clearly was abusing steroids. I am the way. There is no argument that can be made that he's using lower steroid doses right now if in fact he put on 20 plus pounds of muscle now when he was starting steroids at 18 or 19 years of age. If we seriously saying steroids won't speed up your gains, that's exactly what they do. Just say, yeah, gear works, but here's how to do it right without wrecking yourself, but we cannot say it doesn't speed up the process. Would you consider sharing your cycle currently? No, of course not. They don't do that. They just say, my doses are very low, trust me. They never tell you their actual cycles. Oh, I go to Merrick Health and these doctors have me so healthy. My blood work, it's amazing. Never do they show their blood work. They yap a lot and they lie a lot, but they never actually back up what they're claiming. And so here's a comment from IFBB Pro Jello. The same dude that ignored his coach's protocols and was a smashing gear since 16. Fraudulent and back again. What do you think is more likely? That he never used steroids ever in his life and just started blasting, smaller doses before getting his pro card. And since that time, his doses are even smaller, and that his blood work is immaculate because he goes to Merrick. That those healthcare professionals, they monitor everything and he's going to live forever. Or that he was blasting perhaps SARM steroid, we don't know, since he was 16. Did you see the physique he had at 18? Which do you think is more likely? Natural as a teenager with those plummeted levels of testosterone, but all the while building a tremendously jacked physique? Or that he was blasting SARMs, which caused his testosterone levels to plummet? Or that when he cycled off, that is why they were down? Freakiest 18-year-old on the app, 16 weeks out. Does anyone think that he's training natural? That he's natty here? That a natural would have the freakiest physique in the world, even compared to those who are on performance-enhancing drugs? How does a guy who's natural and 18 have a better physique than every person on steroids who's also 18? And then go on to be the youngest IFBB pro of all time, except possibly Lee Priest. Are you kidding me? I'm natural. Natural. Remember, because he only started using steroids a couple of weeks out from his competition. And so those legs, that's just natural. Just natty, no big deal. Most 18-year-olds could do this if they use steroids. Listen, even with steroids, this is redonkulous. Almost no one can look like this at 18 with the use of performance-enhancing drugs. It's just such a slap in the face to even suggest that he prepped for his first competitions while being natty. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo. Please go to Algorex. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. And of course, if you want to be sponsored or you want to be coached or if you want to sell these supplements in your store or gym, click the link right now. Don't forget to go to the Sculpt app by clicking the link. It's made by Coach Greg and Eric Janicki. Body fat percentage estimates, training demonstrations from Coach Greg and Eric Janicki at your fingertips. Click the link to get started right now. Don't forget to go to AlgoRx for your blood work and peptide needs. And until next time, I am out.